Hello and welcome to the first episode of Wrestling Rewind. I'm Will from the Internet, and this is a series in which I'll review some wrestling events from the past. In this episode, I'll be reviewing the first episode of Hardcore TV from ECW. While the name ECW evokes certain extreme feelings from wrestling fans, the first episode of Hardcore TV is actually a production of Eastern Championship Wrestling, the year prior to that promotion's transition into the more iconic Extreme Championship Wrestling. This show actually feels a little older than 1993 to me, and Eastern Championship Wrestling in 1993 is certainly a lot different than what ECW would later become. In fact, the only extreme things about this first episode were Terry Funk on commentary and Stevie Wonderful's hair. Seriously, if you didn't watch the first episode of Hardcore TV before watching this review, that's fine. You don't have to, but you do have to see Stevie Wonderful's hair from 1993. We're welcomed to the program by Jay Sully, Stevie Wonderful, and Stevie Wonderful's hair. ECW President Todd Gordon's introduced by the group, along with the new ECW Television Championship. The inaugural television champion will be determined in a tournament that begins on this episode. Todd Gordon also announces that a third man will be joining the commentary booth, Terry Funk. Eddie Gilbert came out during this announcement pretending he was going to be the third man, which sets up an angle later in the show. Funk gives a shout out to the fans in the locker room at this point before throwing commercial. The first match featured on this episode of Hardcore TV is between the ECW Tag Team Champions at this time, the Super Destroyers, and the Hell Riders, who the Super Destroyers defeat in a short, kind of basic match. I'm not familiar with either of these teams, but the Super Destroyers seem to be your basic monsters, and the Hell Riders made absolutely no impression on me during this match. After the match, Terry Funk interviews Hunter Q. Robbins III, who Funk continues to call Hunter Q. Robbins the Turd, and then throws to a video package about the Sandman, who's the ECW champion at this point. He also seems to have a surfer gimmick at this point, I guess. 1993 was weird. After that, the TV title tournament begins with Tommy Cairo taking on Sal Bellum, who he defeats after some interference by Johnny Hotbody backfires. I enjoyed this match and thought Tommy Cairo made a good standard issue babyface kind of. He's probably the wrestler whose future I'd be the most interested to see from this program after this program, if and when I end up reviewing more early ECW. Next comes what's called a special challenge match between Tony Stetson and Rockin' Rebel. Rebel is the number one contender to the ECW heavyweight title at this point, and wins the match. He's an interesting heel. He's probably the second most interesting person on the show to me. The announced main event of this episode then takes place. The main event features Jimmy Snuka, which, given recent events, takes on a new light. Knowing some of the things Snuka had done outside of the ring at this point definitely weighed on my mind a bit during this match, but I personally wasn't taken out of the match too much, which was against Larry Winters. I am glad that Snuka was a heel at this point in his career because I think that made it a little easier for me to watch, if that makes sense. And after the match, Sal Bellum, who lost earlier, returns for some reason and has a second match in which he absolutely destroyed Ernesto Benefecto. I don't know why. It wasn't explained. It just kind of happened. And that's the end of the show. Thank you for joining me for this review. Again, I'm Will from the Internet, and this is the first episode in my Wrestling Rewind series. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and if you have an idea for a future Wrestling Rewind episode, comment on this video or follow this channel on Twitter at Will from the Net, where I will tweet out info about this channel and also hold posts